Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about the narcissist and how this may be a season where they may try to Hoover you. If you've been away from the narcissist for quite a while and you've already turned down a few Hoovers, they probably heat checked you a few times. They've come in or they were blocked. They realized that their email went to spam, or they tried you on that no caller ID and maybe you answered that and you shouldn't have, but whatever, or they got on your social media. Then they come with that encounter where they got to find you, a place that you frequent sometimes, and then they will just do a pop-up there or even pop up at your house. And that's been a while. And they don't want to let go. They really can't in a lot of ways because they cannot lose and they have to have power and control over every situation. What really kills a narcissist and what flips them on their head is when the empath generational curse breaker wakes up during the middle of a cycle with the narcissist and ends up walking away from the narcissist. And because it wasn't the first cycle with that particular individual, it was probably the fourth one or something. There was many probably down the rung already, and you were pretty much already falling out with them. But at this point, you woke up and that was enough for you to just quit it with them. You discard them and you keep it moving. But the narcissist, they have gone quiet. And that's typically what they do. After they try to Hoover you 3 or 4 times and heat check you, they can't keep doing that. But they haven't quit thinking about you. And they're not done with you. They're coming back. Because you won. You're winning, and they don't like that. You have the power, you hold the power, and they don't like that. And that never happens to them. But they can't continue to keep coming and trying to Hoover you. And somebody asked once, how do you get somebody, a narcissist, to stop with you? Because a lot of times we wanted their attention in the past, and we couldn't get it. And then when you break up with them, and once you really quit with them, so you quit with them and they don't believe it. 6 months is something for them to get concerned about if they haven't heard from you. By 6 months, they have probably tried to Hoover you 2 or 3 times. But after that, they'll probably come back. It may be 6 more months before they try to come back. It'll be something like that. Or like they may have to wait until what they think is a good time to try you again. And that's why if you have a social media account, guaranteed 100%, they have access to it and they're keeping an eye on it. If you discarded the narcissist and you've been away from them and you've been successful, you best believe 100% they are watching it. And that's just what they do. It's just like they all run on the same Wi-Fi antenna. I mean, you know, they're all on that 2G. And they can't get on 3G, 4G, 5G because they're low budget. They're low vibrational. They can't elevate. They're stuck on all the narcissists on 2G. They can't adjust because they're fixed. That's the vibration of the underworld. And that's why when the narcissist, you find that my narcissist was like yours and yours was like his and his was like hers, it's because they're not authentic. They're not authentic, y'all. And these are telltale signs. It's the enemy is always going to be fake, and he's not going to have that authenticity. So neither is his body. Just like the narcissist, you know, they want to have what you have and walk like you walk, but they can't. So they hate you and destroy you if you let them. But when you start to walk in precision, you will be covered. You'll be protected, and you break those contracts. But everything in this world is covenants and contracts, whether it's verbally or it's written or it's where you spend your fuel, your time, y'all. That's where your time is where your heart goes. And so that is a consent as well. But they are going to try to Hoover you because you're doing well. Because this is what's going on. You've been recovering now. You got injured. They destroyed you. You went through the smear campaign. And then you got back on your feet at some point. You were probably hibernating like a monk, y'all. You took time. You hibernated. Because at some point when you get away from a narcissist, you get so wore out. And you get so annoyed with everything out here. And you also know that you're trying to understand things and trying to get yourself level again. Because you have this addiction to work off, this trauma bond from all these hormones. When the hormones are all out of whack, and that's what they want. They do the hot and cold with you. So when they leave you, you're still going like this and you still need that. So it's almost like you can operate in a little chaotic state yourself, because you could kind of flip out a little because you might need that. You see, just like the narcissist would, if they wouldn't get it at home on you, they would get it out there and about. So that's something you definitely have to be in control of or aware. Because I noticed when I was going through that time, it was like I found myself popping off on people sometimes. And I knew it was unlike me, but I also knew that I had to like get off that rumination still. I was still dealing with the trauma that I went through, and I can't take a break from work or anything. So I'm doing everything here, just trying to keep everything level. It's like when you get away from a narcissist and you're done and you just want to heal and you understand what you're dealing with, it's a lot. And when you do start to learn stuff about narcissism, for instance, in some ways in the initial, it could be kind of harder or kind of worse in a sense, or feel that way, because now you're trying to not just like cover it up like you did maybe in the past, but now you're trying to deal with it. And it's like you're coming off this trauma bond and all this hot and cold and a lot going on. It's like everything is a little volatile. Whenever you start to understand that you need to heal, especially when it's psychological or spiritual or both, but you're also coming out of trauma and you also have your hormones out of whack, you have to like slow everything down. Your hormones up and down. But you also have that narc energy on you because you accepted their crap. And then you've been hanging out with them, or you've been in a relationship with them for years. When you're around somebody for a while, you start to vibrate similar to them, and you look like them, and you act like them, or you'll act to where you're going to back that stuff up and protect that. And that's what you did. That's what we all did. You got to like stop pretty much. All you want to do is get through the day. If you just do a little bit of healing or you're going in the right direction, fine. That's all you need to do. Because in the very beginning, you just want to hold what you got and stay away from the narcissist. You know, that's my suggestion. Until you get off that rumination, you can work on healing, but you know, sometimes going full force into healing when you're going through all of that might be too much, more or less, than just resting and doing the healing that you can, but not to get to where you're upset with yourself because you're not doing enough. Because really, you have to level the hormones off. And to do that, you got to almost stop what you're doing. You don't want any ups and downs, and you don't want any heavy hits of dopamine. Then you have highs, then you have real bad lows. And because you can only produce so much dopamine. So you want to avoid highs, and it will help you to avoid lows. Once you level that stuff off, you'll be in a better position for healing. And that rumination will be coming off, and you'll be starting to get back to who you are. Because when the narcissist leaves you, you almost don't even have a fingerprint anymore. They're going to try to Hoover you, and it's probably going to be off the back of you healing. So first, what'll happen is the enemy's going to continue to send that narcissist out. They're going to be a monitoring spirit, basically. They're going to keep up with you without you knowing. But every once in a while, they're going to try to Hoover you. Because they cannot have a loss of power and control. Every time you turn down a Hoover or a heat check or whatever, you give them a narcissist injury. They lose a lot of fuel from that. When you turn them down, it turns their whole frequency down. And any kind of fuel that they were wearing from somebody else starts to just fall off them. So they can't do that. They can't continually do that every day. Not unless they can get you to react each time or cry or whatever. Some kind of emotion out of it. Now, if you start to tell them how much you loved them every time but not take them back or whatever, they'll be satisfied with that. Or if you're angry or if you hate them, these are things they want. They either want to be loved or hated, because that gives them significance. They're significant in your life, and they know that they have a way to pry in, and you're not healed if you're doing those things. And so when you start to get to a healing place and aligning, then that narcissist is going to come back again and try you out again. See if they can hook you back in. Because your light's shining bright now. It's like you're pulling away from the pack. When you got hurt and injured and stuff, you start rolling with the world's pack. A pack of cattle. The cattle run. Because it's like when you're with the narcissist, you're just giving everything to them, and then it pulls you down to your ego self. So you're almost acting like the rest of the world that's almost indoctrinated. You may not have been indoctrinated, but you're kind of like taking a break with taking care of the stuff that you really should be taking care of, because you can't. You can't when you're with a narcissist. They block everything. Anything good and anything where you're growing. So at some point you kind of unconsciously know that that's happening. And with a narcissist in your life, it's like, why should I try to better myself? Because I got this idiot here, you know? It's like, but you still stay with them. And you don't really know why, but it's the spell Or, people will call it like this, whatever, soul ties and crap like that. I call it the spell because that's what it is. It's a generational curse spell that you have to break. And what it takes to break that is truth. It's first, you've always been a truth teller and a truth believer, and you could spot truth, from far away, even as a child. But your heart is big. And when your heart is big, you kind of want to believe these narcissists, because a lot of times you are vibrating on that level too, to some degree. When you come out of a narcissist family, you can't help but be vibrating on a narcissist vibration. You may be a good individual, but you're wrecked still. You just don't know it. You're weak, you're emaciated spiritually, because they were sucking off you on a daily basis your whole life. And anytime you'd have happiness or joy in your life for something, when you were at home with them, they would ruin it. And they would throw that stress on you. They would flip energy with you. They would belittle you and get you walking on eggshells in fear or something. That's how family life in a narcissist family home is like. We can't talk about anything, and everybody's emotionally checked out except you. So the friends that you have are going to be somewhat narcissists, most of them, because you're on somewhat of a narc level and you can't help it, because you live with these people until you're 18 or whatever. Because of that, nobody else really wants to hang out with you, because of the way your family acts. They're so idiotic, because narcissist energy is stupid. Friends that you would choose, that maybe you wanted to hang out with, they always keep the black sheep down. So you probably had crappy clothes, and they made sure that you were going to be inferior in a lot of ways versus the other children, your siblings, and they were going to make it to where they had it out for you to fail. And it wasn't by accident, as much as you probably thought it was. And a lot of times you pretty much just took it, because you learned to be kind of passive, not passive aggressive, but just passive. It's like you're thankful for what you have, and you learn to be that way. I'm talking about it now because it's my past and it's your past, and you can see it in hindsight. I'm not talking about it in a victimhood mentality either, because we're warriors, We can get in a situation and we can figure out how we can at least survive and be somewhat content if we have to, without breaking down our morals and ethics as best we can. But when you're with an evildoer, you're going to chip away at that, and there's nothing you can do about it, because that is a scriptural law. It's one of the foundational laws God put into this world system. We can't block that. So when we were the narcissist and we were told not to be, even though it was a generational curse is kind of like where you didn't do anything, but you're born into having to deal with this narcissistic energy, and it's all in your family except you. Well, it doesn't have to be with anybody. It depends on the innate person, the person's innate spirit, and what they choose. But there's usually only one black sheep per family. And a lot of times the black sheep is not very successful because they don't wake up. They are successful as far as at least being lovable, kind, truthful, and trying to do the right thing. But that doesn't give you success. I mean, because if you don't know the Lord, it doesn't give you success, in my opinion. And then the other thing, you can be a good individual, but if you're walking in folly day after day after day, year after year, because of this generational curse, and you don't have your true authenticity because you're backing up individuals all the time that are not right for you, and you have these blinders on because you're trying to still people please, and you're walking with inferiority complexes when you should be walking you should not be taking that. You should take your energy back, meaning do what you want to do in your independence. But because you were built in and put into an enmeshment, that's what the generational curse is. It's that you grow up in enmeshment in a narcissistic family. But it's a generational curse is somebody in your family did something that caused this. And it talks about down to 3 and 4 generations. It at least goes that far. It can. You could probably break it at any generation, but that's really what a generational curse is. A generational curse is you didn't do anything, but somebody in your family opened up some door that was demonic or that was evil, and it had something to do with letting evil in to some degree, to some level, on the whole bloodline for a time, based on down to the 3rd and 4th generation. And it could probably continue and perpetuate if nobody wakes up. I think a curse can be broken at any time based on a person's innateness. And at least we know it goes that far because God talked about visiting the children of the 3rd and 4th generation. And I think it talked about how they hated him, and they didn't even really know why, because they were under the curse, under the spell. But what breaks the curse is when you start to walk in truth. I'll tell you, man, I innately had truth. I mean, to a level that was beyond my family members. I've always been different in comparison to them, completely. And I took the cards that I was handed and dealt, man, and you did too. That's the thing, man. The narcissist is always complaining and playing the victim, and a lot of times they weren't even the victim. They were really spoiled. To be honest with you, even the ones that say that they were abused, a lot of times they were spoiled. A lot of times they were spoiled because if they did get abused, it was because they were so bad that it came upon them. It's kind of like if you hang out with everybody that has an automatic, weapon, there's a higher percentage chance that you might get popped with one yourself. I mean, it's with anything. If you're running the streets all day and all night, you got to expect that you're going to have some kind of turmoil happen and occur at some point. And then if you have turmoil occur, then it's also going to occur with your family. Because there's repercussions with the law and the streets and with your family. So it affects everything, but then all of a sudden that could be their victimhood story and they could twist it a little. But what's happening is you're getting into an alignment, you're growing, and what gets you into an alignment with you leveling up. This is a level up time, y'all. This is leveling up season. You're in a season of leveling up. And what it takes for that is for you to heal, and to heal is for you to be authentic. And truthful is authentic. And a lot of people in this platform and stuff say they're authentic, but they don't know the Lord, man. So it's like, yo, you're not really authentic. So I kind of disagree on that level of defining what authenticity is. Authenticity is to know the Lord. I mean, first you want to know that you're with the Almighty before you even get started. He's the judge. So when I talk about authenticity and authenticism, I'm talking about based on Christ your King, because he's the standard that I'm talking about, speaking on. So when I talk about it, don't think I'm talking like New Age or something, I'm speaking on a spiritual level and a psychological level and a physical level based on that, based on his character. You knowing him and the fruits of the Spirit and having love, joy, peace, goodness, kindness, gentleness, hope, faith, and long suffering and good self-control. When you start to walk correctly and heal, you don't get reactive. You don't get defensive. You're protecting and understanding the vigilance of your energy and your fuel level and where it is going if it's being depleted, and why you need to change up that vibration, that vibe, that emotional feeling. You can't give your energy to somebody who doesn't deserve it. You can feel bad for somebody without giving them your fuel. And staying away from evildoers. I mean, because when you try to mingle with them, you always get drained. And there's nothing you can do about it because you end up going into an agreement or a covenant or some sort of consent with them. That's too much. So there's a price to pay for that. But with healing, and this is what brings the narcissist back. And then if they can't come back, then then the enemy's gonna send somebody, somebody else. But I mean, you're always gonna have to deal with these individuals. But what they try to do, so this would happen. Your ex lover, partner, this individual, they ran from you, but they're not just running from you, they're running from themselves. They're a runner, okay? And they're running from you, and they can come in and leave because they can't really have a relationship. First of all, they don't have the fruits of the Spirit. They don't have the tools they need to have a relationship. But so which makes them touch and go. So they like to come in and get a little and then leave. And so being a runner like they also were performing spell work on you at the same time because they were trying to hurt you. You have had these type of people in your life your whole life, ever since your birth, y'all. Some say that the narcissist, head narcissist, whatever, the hierarchy, they know as soon as you're birthed what type of individual they think you're going to be. And I would agree with that. Now, maybe they really don't know, but they know unconsciously the demons in them know. They can read that a mile away just from your mannerisms as a child, and you're authentic there. You're not trying to act any different than who you are and what you are. They definitely know as a little child, because you're kind of innocent at that point. When you're a little child, you're just kind of doing what you do, you don't have that influence. I mean, it's not like there's, I don't know. Well, they know very young, and with that, they know what you're going to be. And so as they knew you were going to be an empath and not a narcissist like the rest of them, you were going to be the black sheep, they labeled you. And so they've been sabotaging you your whole life. They've been also enmeshing with you. So what the narcissist tries to do and the enemy tries to do is they always want you to be enmeshed with a narcissist if they can help it. So for 18 years, you're enmeshed with your family. So after that, then they got to find a lover for you quickly if they can. Because if you can enmesh with a lover, then they can just pass the baton, the generational curse baton, and then they can just continue the same old thing because you're still sleeping. And that's kind of what happens. See, the only person that can really enmesh with you the best is going to be your family or a love partner. Your family, because you're around them all the time, and you would look to them for influence, and you grew up with them, you were born into this family. So until you wake up, you're kind of dealing with Stockholm syndrome and all that kind of stuff. And it's just enmeshment. And when you leave, friends aren't going to be able to control you when you're unawoke as much, and as you're not just not willing. They don't have your heart like a love partner would. They don't have your time like a love partner would, and they don't have the ability to affect you on an emotional level. A love partner can do way more destruction on an emotional level than a friend. So a friend won't just cut it, but if they can't get a love partner for you, then they'll have to settle for a friend or a frenemy, a workmate type person, somebody, but they'll get people around you. And so they've been sucking off you your whole life, and they've been sabotaging you your whole life on purpose, and you have not known this. So when you break up with a narcissist, you kind of hibernate and you just want to rest. You're so tired of this stuff and you don't even know what's going on. You're trying to hold down work and trying to figure out what's going on. You just found out about narcissism. So, the first month or so is you're just recovering, but then when you start to recover, you need that hit. So you start ruminating. Well, you've been ruminating the whole time. So that's the issue too. So sometimes you go back to them a few times, but they get less and less. And that healing process is very difficult. It's brutal, y'all, because you'll have things happen. Like you will get reactionary with people, and you will get defensive with people, but now you're knowing that it's wrong on another level. Maybe to some degree you knew it wasn't right, but maybe you were doing it your whole life. And so you would just try to keep it from happening, but without healing it. So you can't really do that because you need a certain sort of self-control, but you can't have self-control over something you're confused about. That's what unhealed wounds is. Unhealed wounds is when you have something happening in your life and you don't have the answer to it now. So you're trying to minimize it, but all you can do is push it under the carpet unless you go in to strategically try to heal it. See, when you can heal it, then you have the self-control. It's almost like an emptiness that can only be filled by the healing of it. But you can do other things like, be wilding about and drinking and partying and, sleeping with people and stuff like that. Anything. Those would be distractions to work off some of that stress and to give you some sort of relief, but it's not the right kind of relief. The relief that you need is through the healing. That's why sometimes people can heal something and it will heal them in other areas over here, or it will lead to a whole transformation of them, because one piece of healing, one thing that they healed caused them to look at, remember I told you it's your perspective. So it changed their perspective on this thing over here. And then they had more energy to deal with this thing over here. So then they had more faith and hope to take on this responsibility over here. And so it transformed. That's what you call kind of transmuting your energy. Transmuting your energy is changing it. It's to take it from just a state of a thought and putting it into action. That's like, it's basically faith work. It's to have vision is the same thing as kind of transmuting, I guess. I mean, because what you're doing is you're turning it. That's where some people would say they're an alchemist. I'm an alchemist. An alchemist is somebody who will take like a, they supposedly, it's all theory or something, but alchemist is to work with metals or something and try to change different metals and gunpowder and stuff like that into gold. Something like that. But anyway, that's what transmuting is basically is you have faith, and that faith becomes a reality. And when you heal, it builds and grows faith in you, and it builds a level of self-control in you by that healing coming in and filling you up in that area where it needed to be filled and whole. So then when it's whole, it's satisfied. And when it's satisfied, you don't have to deal with it anymore. The understanding, those thoughts, it could just be thoughts. A realization, an understanding. That's why there's people that out there that have the word of knowledge, where they could be with somebody and define what the confusion is in their life by just saying one sentence. And that one sentence could be what somebody needed. Maybe they've been looking for that their whole life. They needed somebody to define it for them, to clarify for them. But, God gives that to you. I kind of have that. It's like you take somebody's emotions and you can answer the whole issue that they're dealing with and be precise with what it is. When you heal, you get true authenticity, because now you're not looking to say, for instance, if you're a codependent, you're going to be now independent because you went and healed. If you need validation, well, after dealing with the narcissist, you know that you can supply your own validation, and the people that you were getting it from, that you felt like you needed it from, man, you definitely don't want it from them anymore, because they don't even mean it. And they're sick. You realize by needing validation from somebody, which was part of your enmeshment, is something that got you in a lot of trouble. And all you need to do for validation is to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do with precision. And if you're operating with precision and to the best of your knowledge and your abilities, and you're being truthful and legit, that's all you can do. So you validate that. The narcissist needs validation all the time because they're always doing wrong. When you're always doing evil and lying, cheating, and stealing, you're going to need validation for that. And you don't even know who you are. So you don't even know what you should be doing. And you're almost like not humanity when you're a narcissist, because you can't even feel love. So you don't even know what these people, what they're thinking. A lot of times, the narcissist doesn't know what you're thinking or what's going on with you. They just play like they do, and they play it really well, and then they figure it out because you tell them so much. But this is the thing, God likes real people. That's who he loves, because he's real, y'all. And when you get real and legit, and then you start walking and living by a different vibration, because your vibration really defines you. It defines your integrity. It defines who you are and what kind of self-control you have. It has your emotional spirit in there that adds to your vibration. And you're a level of wholeness, really. I mean, technically your vibration is probably in the spirit realm is probably an algorithm for God to know exactly who you are based on your vibration. I mean, God can do anything, but that's really what it is. But when it comes to the narcissist, they're all on like 2G, because when you are with the enemy, you can't be authentic. You can't even be close. You're always fake. And that's why it says that the enemy masquerades as an angel of light, because he could never come with his true authenticity. You'd run away. And so, same with the narcissist. They wear a mask, y'all, because if they didn't, you would run away. A lot of times, and all of these people that have been sucking off you, attacking you, sabotaging you, and you didn't know it, you were still to some degree, wearing their crap on your back and burning it off and somehow getting through with some sort of success still. Although you did have a lot of folly. I mean, you did have folly based on this, but it's an injustice. So when you start to walk in your precision, God uses you as an equalizer without you really having to do anything. All you're doing is walking with the correctness. And when you walk with your correctness, it's like you're healed and they're not. They tried to bust you to pieces, and you're picking yourself off and you're standing up still. You see? Man, there's nothing worse than somebody trying to defeat you and destroy you without you even knowing it your whole life, or the whole relationship with a narcissist, and they knock you down and you get back up. They throw you to the ground and they step on you and you get back up, and you don't even know that they're really doing it to you for a long time. You know, and then they knock you all the way down to the ground that last time whenever they maybe discarded you, and then you never went back to them or whatever. But what happens is then you learned about narcissism, and then when you stand up this time, man, you ain't sitting down again. You're elevating. When the enemy comes into your life, and when the enemy sends a narcissist into your life, what happens is first you had some sort of transition where you're going forward. You were always engaging in some sort of increase in your life to some degree. Maybe it wasn't as fast as you wanted, but it was going there. You were always somewhat successful because you had truth. But when the narcissist comes in your life, first thing the enemy has him do is freeze you up. Stop. That's the first thing you do. You're just frozen in time. You're not really going backwards, but you ain't going forwards. But you might as well be going backwards, because if you stop, that's just as bad. So then you stop. They freeze you, and then they break you down, and then they bring your level down. So they freeze. This is what the enemy does. He stops you. He freezes you. And then he diminishes your spirit, hurts your spirit, man, breaks you down, and it pulls your whole level down, your whole vibration level. And then from there you start going backwards. But when God's in your life, he stops you, he slows down time, but he speeds up the process. And he puts you on a transition going up and forward. So it's like the enemy stops you, freezes you, and then he drops you down and takes you backwards. When God comes into your life, he slows you down so you can have more time to think and have more precise time to do what you want and rest. But at the same time, he's speeding up the process of what needs to be taken care of. So the process is still getting taken care of as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're doing it, and it almost seems like it's slow motion. And because we're not talking about production here, like we're not at a factory with God, okay? He's the creator, so he can determine what he wants to do and how fast he wants to do it. It don't matter how fast the conveyor belt's going. We're not here for like this type of production. So when God comes in your life, he slows you down so you can think and you can heal and maneuver and get things taken care of. And then he moves you forward and up. The enemy stops you, freezes you, knocks you down and back. So if you want to know if you're doing well, or if there's people in your life that are evil, well, are you healing and going up and forward, or are you going down and back and frozen? That's all you gotta know. Then you know you're leaking fuel to somebody evil in your life, or you're making the wrong decision somewhere where you might think it's good, but it's not. But when you do that, once you get healed, you're starting to walk in the alignment with God. And when you start walking in the alignment with God, then you start to elevate. And that's like when the enemy has a problem with that and he sends these narcissists back out. But then what happens then, a lot of times that narcissist or whoever it was that you were dealing with got completely defeated. So they may have to send somebody else out. Somebody with a whole new mask. But I mean, if you're walking in precision and your intuition's right and everything's on board, then you're going to be okay. You're not going to, but you still got to be vigilant. You're in a season of leveling up. It's level up time, y'all. That light is getting brighter and it's shining nice and good, y'all. It's got a lot of lumens. But still, it's like, you know, like it says in the word, am I going to hide my light under a bushel? No, y'all. I'm going to let that thing shine. But I am going to change who I speak with, who I protect, who I back up, who I consent to, who I spend my time with, who I connect with, who I mesh with, and be vigilant about my energy, because my energy is special and it's authentic. And when you get around evildoers, you become just as fake as they do. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Love y'all. Till next time, peace, we out.